Hi Pisces and Pisces rising, this is your September 2016 forecast. September is a very potent and charged month for you and for the other mutable signs, but for Virgo and Pisces in particular. There are 2 solar eclipses this month. The 1st of September has our Annular Solar eclipse and it will be in your 7th house. For those of you with important planets or the Sun, Moon and Ascendant between the 7th and the 11th degrees will really feel this one. So this puts the spotlight this month on partnerships in particular because this is where your Sun is. So you'll be renegotiating partnerships, you'll be wanting to grow partnerships. Possibly if you're single, you'll want to be partnering up at this time. You'll be sick of going it alone. So you'll be looking for more support, and that support is coming in with Jupiter moving into Libra on the 9th of September. So in Libra, Jupiter is going to give you a lot of opportunities for social networking, for business deals, for fun and conversation and stimulus. But in your 8th house, it's also going to show a lot of expansion and opportunities through joint investments, possibly money coming in, particularly because Jupiter will be joining Venus and Libra in the 8th house for a good deal of September. So very good for investments, very good for money coming in, very good for business relationships. And Jupiter in the 8th will also be in a more supportive relationship with Saturn. So it's going to allow a lot of sustainable growth for you and your investments. So very positive that your ruling planet Jupiter is moving into Libra and into a positive relationship with Saturn. Mercury is also going retrograde in your 7th house, so there's a lot of chance to review and renegotiate and go over all the details of your contracts and anything to do with consulting and presentation. So if you're working on an important project, then use this time until the 22nd of September to really review everything, to perfect your presentation before you take it public. And yeah, so just for revision, review, renegotiating, checking all your facts. In Virgo, Mercury is very productive, efficient, practical, and very detail orientated. So just because Mercury is retrograde doesn't mean it's going to be inefficient. In its own sign it will be. So use this to perfect projects, presentation, and to review all of the facts with regards to partnerships and business contracts. There's a lunar eclipse on the 16th of September in your 1st house in Pisces. So really 2 very important eclipses happening on your angles in the house of partnerships, the solar eclipse, and in the house of the south, the lunar eclipse. So this is going to pull your attention from partnerships to the south. You'll be wondering, what about my needs? And perhaps they've been neglected for a while. It looks like you've been very caught up in career, business, and dealing with obstacles in this respect. So you've been putting other people's needs ahead of your own, and at this time you'll be feeling a bit neglected. So you'll be looking for a bit of attention, and you'll be wanting other people to take your needs into account also. So the shift is between partnerships and give and take, and transforming those partnerships, renegotiating them. So eclipses can sometimes show endings and new beginnings. So it's possible that some dysfunctional relationships you'll let go of at this time if they can't be transformed, or that you may decide to start a new relationship at this time, or you'll decide to take a relationship and develop it so that it's more mutually beneficial. So lots of endings, new beginnings, but it's all part of like a clean sweep that needs to happen because we've got the equinox coming up on the 22nd of September and then a very positive new moon in Libra at the end of the month. So lots of changes happening. So let's trot through the month step by step. So let's look at that solar eclipse in your 1st house on the 1st of September. So there are some hard aspects between the Sun and Moon and Saturn. This is in your 10th house. So with Neptune in your 1st house and the Saturn-Neptune square peaking at the time of the eclipse, it's going to highlight obstacles and difficulties that you've had in business and in terms of projecting your agenda in terms of business. So you'll have dealt, well, for the last year really, you'll have dealt with some pretty strange obstacles, delays and hindrances, possibly dealing with people in authority that aren't being very cooperative and that are undermining you. So it's great that we see the last of the Saturn-Neptune square, the most prominent aspect this year, this September. So, but because an eclipse is like a snapshot, these effects are going to play out until the next eclipse in Pisces in February next year. But those effects will be waning and you'll feel the bulk of the changes sooner than that. So it's great that this aspect is passing out because it's shown difficulty with authority figures, professional challenges in career, and so just overall stopping you from projecting yourself effectively. So with Neptune in your first house, there's either something glamorous that you're projecting or alternatively something very philanthropic and altruistic. So you've got a passion or compassion project that you want to take public. And so like I said, you've been dealing with authority figures and a bit of self-doubt and uncertainty. So it'll be great that these effects are going to dissipate at this time. You'll also have had, with the Sun and Moon opposing Neptune, some problems in partnerships. Perhaps people are misleading you or not being very clear in their communications, or perhaps you're not being clear about your needs and your desires. So looking at how you can transform those responsibilities in relationships, because Neptune and the Sun and Moon opposing Neptune can also show people perhaps behaving in irresponsible ways, not coming to the parties. So you'll want to be very clear-cut with people like that, and you'll want to make sure that you're not accidentally misleading other people either, and being as clear as you can about what you want. So, like I said, very happy to see the last of the Saturn-Neptune square. This has been very prominent for the mutable signs, and so an obstructing influence that we'll really be glad to see the end of. Okay, so looking at the month, like I said, Mercury is retrograde, and on the 2nd it conjuncts Jupiter in the 7th. So although Mercury is retrograde, this is still very good for concluding business or for expanding on business, so renegotiating and going over details. It's going to give you a very broad view and make you detail orientated. So if you're a consultant, it's also going to make you very charming and persuasive. On the 7th, the Sun will trine Pluto from the 7th to the 11th house. This is very good for renewing strength and purpose, and because it's in very social houses, the push is going to be to take your agenda public through social networking, through friendships and groups. You'll be feeling very sure of yourself and reinvigorated, which is a welcome relief after the confusion of the solar eclipse, which you'll still be feeling, but at this time you'll be able to push forward and you'll feel strong and certain. And like I said, you'll really be able to push your agenda in public arenas and take your networking skills further. So great time, the 7th. Okay, so on the 9th, Jupiter goes into Libra in your 8th house. So since this is Pisces' ruling planet, let's just talk a little bit more about that. In Virgo, Jupiter was in detriment, but also in hard aspect to Saturn. So Saturn was restricting the expansive effects of Jupiter. So it was a period where people were hoping for more progress, more luck, more rewards, but actually Saturn was curbing and curtailing the expansiveness of Jupiter. With Jupiter moving into Libra and into your 8th house, this is going to help you feel a lot more supported. So it's also going to bring you some luck in terms of investments. It's going to show money possibly coming in, especially joining Venus in Libra there this month. So good for solid, lucrative investments, good for money coming in, especially through joint resources, and like I said, a very supportive placement for you. So you'll really feel more established and secure, and possibly you'll be wanting to invest in things regarding business at this time. And with the favorable aspect to Saturn, it will show sustainable growth. And lots of opportunities again in the social sign of Libra. So opportunities for growth and expansion through networks and connections. And on the 10th, this is when the Saturn-Neptune square culminates. This has been between your 1st and your 10th house. So it's really undermined your confidence in yourself and your abilities. And like I said, there's been hindrances and obstacles that you've had to fight through, possibly authority figures that have been, providing restrictions and, just kind of drawing a line, and you haven't been able to get past it. And also, like I said, Neptune can make you feel very uncertain of yourself in the 1st house, so you may have been doubting your abilities. So it's great that this aspect has been making its last pass this September, because it's been the most prominent aspect astrologically this year. And Pisces will have felt it pretty strongly. So good that it's moving on. And well, one thing that it has done for you though is, especially with Mars and Saturn in your 10th house, it's really made you dig your heels in. So if you've met a lot of resistance, it's made you very tenacious, and you've probably gone over all the details of your schemes and, like I said, really dug your heels in and stood your ground, which is great. So these things will bring you professional success and recognition. And people will admire you for that, for your resilience. Between the 11th and the 12th, we have 2 difficult squares. The first is between Venus and Pluto, and the second is between Mercury and Mars. So this is going to be happening in a way that's going to possibly make you want to dominate a relationship. You'll be feeling kind of pushy at this time, and there's something that you really want, and you're going to push to get it. And Mercury square Mars, this can make you excitable and angry. So if you've been suppressing words, which is often the case with Mercury retrograde, you may lash out at this time. But it's also going to make you really push forward with something that you feel passionate about. So try not to be too easily offended or too rash, and consider your words perhaps more carefully. Okay, so on the 16th, it's the full moon eclipse in Pisces. It's at 24 degrees, so you'll really be feeling it between, if you've got strong angles and placements, between 22 and 26 degrees. So full moons are culminating. This moon, full moon, lunar eclipse really brings out the Mars energy that we just talked about. It's got the sun and moon squaring Mars. So like I said, this can make you feel reckless and impulsive. In the 1st house, you're feeling very sensitive towards your needs. So if people have been stepping on your toes, you'll be pretty angry about it and inclined to, like I said, lash out. So, watch those aspects, because this is a supercharged full moon. So things can come to a head. You'll feel very emotional and, like I said, a lot more sensitive and pretty overwhelmed. So try and take it easy. And like I said, ultimately this is about looking towards your needs and making sure that they're being met in relationships, and try and find the most positive ways of negotiating those sorts of contracts so that you're respecting other people and they're respecting you. But it is definitely important that you look after yourself at this time. So like I said, take it easy. Between the 17th and the 18th, 2 very positive Uranian aspects, the first between Mars and Uranus, and the second between Venus and Uranus. So this is going to be very good for social interactions and business contracts, relationships. So there's also going to be possibly, and you will be wanting to invest in your career, and you'll have a kind of original idea about that, like how to take it, how to play it. And so it's good for social interactions, it's good for inventive ways of making connections. So you'll be investing in your career, maybe considering making an impulsive gamble or investment. But things should be interesting and exciting with these aspects. Okay, on the 19th, we've got Venus sextiling Mars between your 8th and 10th house. So this is also a very good social aspect. It's also one that heightens sexual attractiveness. and common goals. So a very good aspect for working with people in general. And between the 8th and the 10th house can also show wanting to invest money in your career, and so, or relationships benefiting your career. So very good aspect for working towards the common good, for working efficiently with other people, particularly in a team, and for social networking connections again. Okay, so between the 20th and the 23rd, Mercury will trine Pluto. It's just before Mercury goes direct. And if things have been unclear, then this is really the aspect that's going to help you get to the bottom of things. So good for research, good for going over details. So this is going to be a nice last hurrah before Mercury goes direct. That's really going to help make you sure of things in your project and your presentation. Your ideas will be very powerful because Pluto is in your 11th house. It's going to be very good again for social networking and taking your ideas out into these arenas. So like I said, Mercury going direct, and just before the Sun goes into Libra in your 8th house. So the last week of the month, it's going to be about, like I said, more support for you because it'll be joining Jupiter there and moving towards a very lucky conjunction with Jupiter. This could be a very good investment opportunity for you. And again, like I said, in the 8th house, a stabilizing influence, good for joint resources, good for money coming in, good for reevaluating investments, and so good for planning and strategizing around these areas. And like I said, we'll be joining Jupiter there, which is a very good opportunity for business. Okay, and also interestingly, Mars is moving into Capricorn around the 24th of the month. This is going to be in your 11th house, and that's going to emphasize those social network connections that I spoke about. So it's going to give you a lot of push in terms of making connections, getting your ideas out there. Also good for money coming in from your business, so you'll be very driven and passionate about that. And like I said, the month wraps up with a new moon in Libra, which is very positive, and so a good start to the following month of October. So chins up, Pisces. Like I said, September, a very eventful month, and you've been weathering a series of eclipses through the Pisces-Virgo axis, the last of which will be in February. So important time of life lessons for you, and you've really weathered the storm, and over the next 6 months you'll be moving towards graduation. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this month's forecast. Bye.